You walked in for one thing. Maybe it was a birthday card. Maybe it was a phone charger. Maybe it was a specific item you needed and had already decided exactly how much you were willing to spend. You had a number in your head. The trip was supposed to be quick, in and out, controlled. You walked out 40 minutes later having spent 3 times what you planned, carrying things you didn't come for, mildly aware that something had gone sideways, but not entirely sure how. The card was in the bag, so was a candle, a kitchen gadget that was on sale, a seasonal item near the checkout, and something you picked up while looking for the original thing and decided you needed while you were there. That experience has a name. It's called a successful retail visit. Not successful for you, successful for the store. Here is what most people don't fully appreciate about modern retail environments. Every element of the experience you just had was designed. The layout that required you to walk past 15 other things to reach the one you came for. The lighting that made the products look more appealing than they will in your home. The music playing at a tempo calibrated to slow your walking pace and extend your time in the store. The pricing structure that made one item look like a bargain by placing it next to something more expensive. The checkout area stocked with small items chosen specifically because people who have already committed to spending money are psychologically primed to spend a little more. None of it was accidental. All of it was researched, tested, and optimized by people whose entire professional purpose is to maximize the amount of money you spend per visit. Consumer psychology is a multi-billion-dollar research industry. Major retailers employ behavioral scientists, environmental psychologists, and pricing strategists whose job is to understand how human decision-making works and engineer every aspect of the shopping environment to exploit it. The tactics they've developed are not crude or obvious. They work precisely because they feel natural, like your own choices, rather than the results of deliberate manipulation. You cannot defend against a system you can't see. Once you can see it, the power shifts immediately and completely. Awareness does not require willpower. It does not require discipline or deprivation. It just requires knowing what is being done and why. Here are 10 psychological tricks retailers use to make you overspend every single time, and exactly how to neutralize each one. Trick 1. The anchor price. Walk into any furniture store, electronics retailer, or clothing shop and look at the first prices you encounter. They will almost always be high, dramatically, almost uncomfortably high. A jacket priced at $380, a television at $2,800, a sofa at $4,500. You may have no intention of buying any of these items, but you have already been manipulated before you've touched a single product. This is called price anchoring, and it is one of the most well-documented and reliably effective techniques in all of consumer psychology. The principle was formalized by Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman and his research partner Amos Tversky. When the human brain encounters a numerical value, it uses that value as a reference point, an anchor, against which all subsequent numbers are evaluated. Once a high price is established in your mind, every lower price that follows feels like a bargain relative to that anchor, regardless of whether the lower price actually represents good value. The $380 jacket you passed on the way in has recalibrated your sense of what clothing costs. The $95 jacket you find 10 minutes later feels reasonable, even cheap against that mental anchor. Without the $380 jacket, the $95 price tag would have registered very differently. With it, the $95 feels like you're saving money. Retailers place anchor items strategically at store entrances, at the tops of product displays, and as the first options presented in any category. Online retailers do the same thing. The most expensive option appears first, or the original price is displayed prominently beside the sale price to create an anchor that makes the discounted price feel like a rescue. The strike-through price tactic is anchoring in its purest form. $280, now $89, does not tell you whether $89 is a good price for the item. It only tells you that the item was once priced at $280, which your brain interprets as evidence that $89 is a bargain. The original price may have been artificially inflated specifically to create this effect. Many retailers set original prices they never expect to sell at, purely to make the markdown feel dramatic. How to neutralize it. Before entering any retail environment, establish your own anchor. Decide in advance what you consider a reasonable price for the category of item you're buying. Look up comparable prices online before you shop. When you encounter an anchor price in a store, name it explicitly in your mind. This is an anchor, not a reference point. Evaluate every price against market value and your predetermined budget, not against the most expensive item in the store. Trick 2. The store layout maze. Grocery stores put milk, eggs, and bread at the back. Always. In almost every grocery store in the country, the items purchased most frequently by the most customers are located as far from the entrance as physically possible. You have to walk past the entire store to reach them. This is not a coincidence or a logistical necessity. It is a deliberate layout decision based on a simple principle. Every additional foot a customer travels through a store is an additional opportunity for an unplanned purchase. The longer the path to the intended destination, the higher the exposure to products the customer did not come for, and the higher the probability of impulse purchases along the way. Research published in the Journal of Marketing found that for every additional minute a customer spends in a retail environment, their spending increases by approximately $2.50. A store layout that adds 8 minutes to the average shopping trip generates approximately $20 in additional unplanned spending per customer per visit. Across thousands of daily customers, the layout is worth millions of dollars annually to the retailer. The maze extends beyond just placing staples at the back. Complementary products are positioned together to trigger associated purchases. Pasta next to pasta sauce, next to Parmesan. The complete purchase assembled for you before you realized you were assembling it. High-margin items are placed at eye level. Store brand alternatives are placed on lower shelves where they require deliberate searching to find. End caps, the displays at the end of each aisle, feature items the store wants to move, not necessarily items on sale, positioned where foot traffic is highest. Seasonal displays appear at entrances to capture purchasing motivation before a list is consulted. Checkout lanes are lined with small impulse items chosen for their low enough price point that adding them to an already committed purchase feels trivial. How to neutralize it. Shop with a list and treat the list as a route map rather than a suggestion. Navigate directly to list items and return to the exit. Give yourself a specific time limit for the trip. When possible, use grocery store pickup. You provide the list, someone else navigates the maze, and you collect the items without exposure to the environment designed to expand your purchase. The average household that switches from in-store to pickup for regular grocery shopping reduces unplanned purchases by 25% to 40%. Trick 3. The decoy effect. You're looking at 3 options. A small coffee for $3, a medium for $5.50, a large for $6. The large is only 50 cents more than the medium. Almost everyone chooses the large. The medium feels like a trap. You get substantially more for almost the same price by upgrading. The small looks like a poor value by comparison. What most people don't realize is that the medium was designed to lose. Its price was set not to sell, but to make the large look like an obvious value and the small look inadequate. The decoy is a deliberately unattractive option engineered to steer purchasing behavior toward a more profitable choice. The decoy effect was formally documented by researchers at Duke University and has since become one of the most widely applied pricing strategies in retail. The principle is that introducing an asymmetrically dominated option, something that is clearly inferior to one of the other choices in almost every way, causes people to shift their preference toward the option that dominates it. In the coffee example, the large dominates the medium. The medium exists to make the large look like a deal. Without the medium, many people would have been happy with the small. With the medium present, the large becomes the obvious choice for anyone who doesn't want to feel like they're leaving value on the table. This plays out across virtually every tiered pricing structure: software subscription plans, streaming service tiers, gym membership levels, hotel room categories. The middle option is almost always a decoy designed to make the most profitable upper tier look reasonable by comparison. How to neutralize it. When evaluating tiered options, mentally remove the middle option and ask whether the top tier is still worth the price compared to the bottom tier. Evaluate each option independently on its own merits, rather than relative to the other options in the set. Ask specifically, do I actually need what the upgrade provides, or does it just look better compared to the middle option? If the answer is the latter, the decoy is working. Trick 4. Artificial scarcity and urgency. Only 3 left in stock. Sale ends tonight. Limited time offer. This deal expires in 14 hours, 32 minutes, and 17 seconds. Today only, while supplies last. These phrases are everywhere in retail, both physical and online, because they work with remarkable reliability. The psychological mechanism they exploit is loss aversion, the well-documented human tendency to feel the pain of a potential loss more acutely than the pleasure of an equivalent gain. The possibility of missing out on something, even something you didn't want 30 seconds ago, triggers a stress response that accelerates decision-making and bypasses the deliberation that might otherwise prevent an unnecessary purchase. Urgency is the enemy of good purchasing decisions. Every retail tactic designed to make you feel that time is running out is designed specifically to prevent you from thinking carefully. The countdown timer exists not to inform you of a genuine deadline, but to create anxiety that overrides your analytical mind and pushes you towards immediate action. Research from the University of Florida found that artificial scarcity messages increase purchase likelihood by up to 30% for products that consumers were previously undecided about. The effect is particularly strong for online shopping, where low stock warnings and countdown timers can be implemented at virtually no cost and adjusted in real time to maximize conversion rates. The scarcity is frequently artificial. Many limited-time sales reappear regularly. Many only 3 left warnings exist on items with deep inventory. The countdown timer resets when it reaches 0. The tactic is not informing you of a genuine constraint. It is manufacturing a constraint to change your behavior. How to neutralize it. Create a mandatory waiting period for any purchase triggered by urgency messaging. If a sale ends tonight and you weren't already planning to buy the item, add it to a list and check the price in 1 week. In the vast majority of cases, a comparable price or promotion will be available. If it isn't and you still want the item, buy it then from a position of deliberate choice rather than manufactured panic. Trick 5. The power of free. Buy one, get one free. Free shipping on orders over $50. Free gift with purchase. Get a free item when you sign up. The word free triggers an irrational response in human decision-making that has been extensively documented and is reliably exploited in retail. Dan Ariely, behavioral economist and author of Predictably Irrational, ran a series of experiments showing that people make dramatically different choices when the word free is introduced, even when the underlying mathematics of the decision haven't changed. In one experiment, people chose a free $10 gift card over a $20 gift card priced at $7, a decision that costs them $3 in value, simply because free triggered a response that overrode rational calculation. The free shipping threshold is one of the most profitable applications of this principle in modern retail. A customer with $38 in their cart is presented with the information that orders over $50 ship for free. Rather than paying $5 in shipping on the $38 order, they add $12 worth of products to qualify for free shipping. The retailer has converted a $5 shipping cost into $12 in additional product revenue, a net gain of $7 per transaction, generated purely by the psychological pull of free. Buy one, get one free promotions exploit the same mechanism. The free item feels like pure gain. The purchase required to obtain it feels secondary. But if the buyer only needed one of the item, they've spent money on a second item they didn't need in exchange for a perceived benefit that required the unnecessary expenditure to exist. How to neutralize it? When you encounter a free offer, calculate the actual cost of obtaining the free item. Add the required purchase cost to your total and evaluate whether you would have made that full purchase if the free element hadn't been presented. If the answer is no, the free item is not free. It is the cost of a purchase you didn't intend to make. Free shipping thresholds specifically calculate whether adding items to hit the threshold costs more or less than the shipping fee you're avoiding. It frequently costs more. Trick 6. Sensory manipulation. Retail environments are engineered from the ceiling speakers to the floor plan to influence purchasing behavior through sensory experience. This is not speculation. It is documented environmental psychology applied commercially at significant scale. Music tempo directly affects shopping pace. Research published in the Journal of Consumer Research found that slow tempo music causes customers to move through stores more slowly and spend significantly more time and money than customers shopping to fast tempo music. Upscale retailers play slower, more sophisticated music. Fast food restaurants play faster music to turn tables. The tempo is not chosen for your enjoyment. It is chosen for your behavior. Scent marketing is a multi-million-dollar industry. Retailers pump specific fragrances through their ventilation systems to create emotional associations that increase purchasing. The smell of fresh-baked goods triggers comfort and appetite. Floral scents are associated with luxury and quality. Certain fragrances have been shown in research to increase time spent in a retail environment by up to 20% and purchase amounts by 6 to 8%. Lighting affects both how products look and how customers feel. Warm lighting creates an emotional comfort that increases purchase likelihood. Jewelry stores, cosmetics counters, and clothing retailers all use lighting specifically engineered to make products look better than they will at home under standard conditions. Temperature affects comfort and patience. Slightly cool environments keep customers alert and browsing. Cold enough to be slightly uncomfortable keeps customers moving. The temperature is managed deliberately. How to neutralize it? Recognize that your physical and emotional state in a retail environment is being managed externally. If you feel unusually comfortable, relaxed, or positively emotional in a store, acknowledge that this feeling has been engineered and is not evidence that the products are worth buying. Shopping online from a neutral environment removes the physical sensory manipulation entirely. For in-store shopping, maintaining a specific list and a time target limits exposure to the ambient influence. Trick 7. Social proof and bestseller labels. Bestseller, most popular, customer favorite, top rated, staff pick, #1 choice. These labels are everywhere, and they work by exploiting one of the most powerful drivers of human decision-making, the assumption that other people's choices contain information about what is good. Social proof, a term coined by psychologist Cialdini in his foundational work on influence, describes the tendency to look to the behavior of others when making decisions under uncertainty. When we don't know which option is best, we use the choices of other people as a proxy for quality. This is rational in many contexts. It becomes exploitable when the signals of social proof are manufactured or misleading. A bestseller label on a product in a retail store tells you that the product sells frequently. It tells you nothing about whether it represents good value, whether it is the best option for your specific needs, or whether the high sales volume reflects genuine quality or simply effective placement and promotion. A product positioned at eye level on a high-traffic end cap with a bestseller badge will sell more than an identical product on a lower shelf without the badge, and then its higher sales volume will be used to justify keeping the bestseller label. Amazon's algorithms surface products with more reviews, driving more purchases and more reviews, a self-reinforcing cycle that has nothing to do with whether the product is genuinely best for any individual buyer. Products can purchase fake reviews to enter this cycle artificially. The bestseller ranking reflects sales velocity, not quality. How to neutralize it? When you encounter social proof labels, ask specifically popular with whom, for what purpose, and evaluated against what alternatives. Seek out independent reviews from sources with no financial stake in the recommendation. For significant purchases, consult consumer reports, independent testing organizations, or specialized communities where users discuss products without retail influence. Bestseller means it's sold. It does not mean it's right for you. Trick 8. The foot in the door and commitment escalation. Once you've committed to a purchase, you become substantially more likely to make additional related purchases. This is commitment escalation, the psychological tendency to behave consistently with decisions already made, because reversing course requires admitting the original decision was wrong, which feels threatening to self-image. Retailers engineer commitment escalation deliberately. The initial purchase, often modestly priced, establishes a buyer identity and creates a psychological opening for upsells, add-ons, and complementary products. You've already decided to buy. Each subsequent addition feels like a smaller commitment relative to the one already made. Car dealerships are the most sophisticated practitioners of this technique. The base vehicle purchase creates the commitment. Once committed to a $40,000 decision, adding a $1,200 paint protection package feels trivial. Adding $800 in floor mats feels like a minor footnote. A $2,500 extended warranty feels like responsible stewardship of a large investment. Each addition is evaluated against the large number already committed, rather than on its own merits. The total add-on cost frequently reaches $5,000 to $8,000, money that would never have been spent if evaluated independently. Online retail uses a version of this through cart-building interfaces. Items are added to carts over multiple sessions. Once a cart contains $180 in products, adding one more $22 item feels minor. The commitment represented by the existing cart makes each addition feel smaller than it would have felt as an independent purchase. How to neutralize it? Evaluate every add-on, upsell, and complementary product as if it were an independent purchase with no relation to whatever you've already committed to buying. Ask, would I have come to this store specifically to buy this item? Would I have added it to a shopping list before arriving? If the answer is no, the commitment escalation is working. The size of the existing purchase is irrelevant to whether any additional item represents good value. Trick 9. Loyalty programs and spending to save. Points, rewards, cashback, miles, member pricing. Loyalty programs are marketed as benefits for frequent customers. They are primarily customer retention and spending escalation tools. The loyalty program creates a category called points or rewards that feels distinct from money. Because points are not money, they have no direct monetary denominator in daily cognition. Spending to accumulate them does not register with the same weight as spending money directly. Research published in the Journal of Marketing Research found that loyalty program members spend 20 to 40% more per transaction than non-members, largely because the points accumulation reframes spending as earning. The spend $200 to save $20 dynamic is the most transparent version of this manipulation. A loyalty program offers a $20 reward certificate for every $200 spent. The customer spends $200 to earn $20, a 10% return that requires the outlay to exist. Someone who would have spent $140 on genuinely needed items now spends $200 to capture the $20 reward. They have spent $60 more than intended to save $20. Net result, they are $40 worse off than if the program didn't exist and they'd bought only what they needed. The math of loyalty programs almost never favors the consumer when the spending required to generate rewards is counted honestly. Airline miles require enormous spending to accumulate enough for meaningful redemption, and the redemption value is frequently lower than the retail cost of the flights purchased with miles would have been using cashback equivalent. Credit card rewards points generate approximately 1 to 2% return on spending, while encouraging more spending to accumulate more points. How to neutralize it? Calculate the actual return on any loyalty program before letting it influence spending decisions. If a program generates 2% rewards and causes you to spend 15% more than you otherwise would, the program is costing you 13% net. Never make a purchase specifically to earn points or reach a reward threshold. Let rewards accumulate as a minor benefit, not a reason to spend. Trick 10. The checkout gauntlet. You've navigated the entire store. You've resisted the anchors, the decoys, the scarcity warnings, the free offers, and the sensory environment. You've collected what you came for. You're ready to leave. And then you enter the checkout line. The checkout area is the final optimized extraction zone in the retail environment. Everything positioned there has been chosen with extraordinary care. The items are small, under $10 in most cases, because small purchases require the least deliberation. They are impulse-friendly: candy, magazines, small useful-seeming gadgets, travel-sized products, seasonal items, batteries. They are positioned at eye level in unavoidable proximity to a customer who is already in a purchasing mindset, has already committed to a transaction, and is experiencing the mild euphoria of a completed shopping trip. The psychology being exploited is identical to the commitment escalation discussed earlier, but with a specific modifier. The sunk cost of the trip itself creates a spending momentum that makes small additions feel natural. You're already here. The transaction is already happening. Adding $6 of candy or a $9 phone accessory feels completely inconsequential relative to the basket already assembled. According to retail industry research, checkout area items generate disproportionate revenue relative to their floor space, frequently the highest revenue per square foot in the entire store. A checkout lane stocked with $8 average transaction items across hundreds of customers daily generates substantial daily revenue from a physical space of approximately 20 square feet. Online retailers replicate this with the "customers also bought" and "add to order" prompts that appear at checkout. The timing is deliberate, presented at the highest purchase commitment when the decision to spend has already been made and the psychological barrier to adding more is at its lowest. How to neutralize it? Treat the checkout area as a minefield and navigate it with deliberate tunnel vision. Look at your phone. Look at the floor. Look anywhere except the products positioned to capture your attention in that vulnerable final moment. The items in checkout lanes were chosen because they work on people who aren't paying attention. Pay attention. The 10 tricks covered in this video share a common architecture. Every single one of them works by operating below the level of conscious decision-making. Anchors recalibrate your sense of value before you've evaluated anything. The maze exposes you to products before you've decided to look for them. Decoys steer your choice while making you feel like you made it independently. Urgency bypasses your deliberation. Free short-circuits your calculation. Sensory manipulation shapes your emotional state without your awareness. Social proof replaces your judgment with someone else's. Commitment escalation makes additions feel smaller than they are. Loyalty programs reframe spending as earning. The checkout gauntlet captures whatever remained. Together, these techniques account for a significant portion of the gap between what the average consumer intends to spend and what they actually spend. Research from the National Retail Federation estimates that unplanned purchases account for approximately 50 to 60% of total retail spending. Half of all money spent in retail environments goes to things the consumer did not plan to buy before entering. That percentage represents thousands of dollars annually for the average household. It is not money spent on things that improve quality of life or deliver lasting satisfaction. It is money extracted through systems specifically designed to bypass the conscious decision-making that would have prevented the purchase. Awareness changes this immediately and completely. You do not need more willpower. You do not need more discipline. You need to see the tricks clearly enough that they register as tricks rather than as your own spontaneous choices. The anchor is not information. The maze is not a layout. The decoy is not a helpful comparison. The countdown timer is not a deadline. The free item is not free. The music is not ambiance. The bestseller badge is not a recommendation. The commitment is not a reason to add more. The points are not a benefit that justifies the spending. The checkout gauntlet is not a convenience. They are all systems, researched, tested, and optimized systems designed to separate you from money you did not intend to spend. Now you can see them. The next time you walk into a store, you will not walk out the same way you walked in before watching this video. You will see the anchor prices at the entrance. You will recognize the maze for what it is. You will identify the decoy in the pricing tier. You will name the manufactured urgency. You will calculate what the free item actually costs. You will notice the music tempo and the engineered scent. You will look past the bestseller badge. You will evaluate add-ons independently. You will do the actual math on the loyalty points. You will navigate the checkout gauntlet with your eyes open. Awareness is free, and unlike the deals in that store, it actually is.